Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Nix, and welcome back to NASCAR Mailbox. We have just wrapped up a very interesting weekend at Darlington Raceway, a very interesting throwback weekend that saw William Byron dominate the Cup race but not score the win. Instead, it was Denny Hamlin who took home the checkered flag. Hamlin passed everybody else on the overtime restart. His pit crew got him to the lead, and he was able to hold off the dominant Byron on the final lap. So Hamlin scored his second consecutive win of 2025 and second total win of the season. So I've selected one question that I'm going to go more in depth about that we discussed in-house at Frontstretch, and I'm going to share my thoughts on that question here with all of you. So the question is, or it's not really a question, it's more of a point, but Dillon has looked pretty solid this year. So I'm going to expand on this point. I'm going to bring in a couple different factors as well. So let's get into it. So Dillon at this point in his career, he's a known quantity. He's not going to get he's not going to overachieve in any equipment that he's in. But I think he's underappreciated as a driver in a lot of ways. He almost always brings the car home clean. He doesn't overdrive his equipment. He doesn't try to get more out of the car than what it's capable of doing. And when you have a driver like that, what you get is laps. You start finishing races, you start getting more and more races and laps under your belt. And especially for a team like Kaulig that seems like it's been lost at sea for at least the last couple of years in Cup. It's a welcome sight for them. And Dillon kind of has been a breath of fresh air. He's doing exactly what that team needs him to do, which is keep the car clean, stay out of trouble, and eventually he's going to improve. He's going to get better. And he's finished in the top 20 in two consecutive races. He's not crashed out of any race this year, which considering how the year started for a lot of drivers, that is quite the achievement. He is sitting 25th in points right now, which on one hand you're like, okay, yeah, 25th in points, not that great on paper, but once you dig a little deeper into the numbers, you realize he's been pretty good, especially for Dillon standards, especially for the standards of Kaulig. So again, he finished 15th last week at Martinsville. Excuse me, he finished 15th the previous week at Martinsville. He finished 16th this past week at Darlington. He ran in the top 10 for a decent chunk of this race, even though the funny thing is that this past week's result doesn't actually reflect how well he ran for most of the day. That nice Patty Louise throwback that he ran at Kaulig Racing there. So Dillon has impressed me in the sense of he's kept his nose clean, other than Austin Cinder Dakota, but can't really fault Dillon for his involvement in that wreck. But overall, I think Dillon has done well for Kaulig. He's done exactly what he's needed to do. He's kept the car clean. He stayed out of trouble. And you have not heard his name very often. And again, that's exactly what he was brought on to do, and that's exactly what he has done. And I'm going to expand that to Allmendinger as well. Allmendinger has been very impressive so far this year. He's currently sixth. He's currently in the playoffs on points. And we're a decent chunk into the season now. Allmendinger still solidly, I wouldn't say solidly, but the fact that he's still in the playoffs on points. He's finished top 10 on speed multiple races as of late. Obviously, he did not at Darlington, but he's ran quite well this year. And Kaulig has really upped the ante this year, especially from where they were last year. They were, for lack of a better word, they were dreadful last year. So they've really cleaned it up this year. They've really stayed out of trouble. I know Allmendinger had the problem with Coda, which set him back. But yeah, Allmendinger is 16th in points, so he'd be in the playoffs in points. He's had multiple very impressive runs. That reminds me of the Allmendinger of 3-4 years ago. So it's really nice, in my view, it's nice to see Kaulig upping their game on the performance side of things. And I think Ty Norris is a big part of that. Late last season, Ty Norris and Trackhouse Racing parted ways. So obviously Norris did so much work with Michael Walter Racing, with Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. So he was instrumental in making those teams successful and a huge part of their success behind the scenes. He did the same thing for Trackhouse when he was there. So he and Trackhouse parted ways. Then he ended up with Kaulig Racing, and he's doing the exact same thing again. He's behind the scenes, huge for the infrastructure of that team, and Ty Norris does not get enough appreciation, in my opinion, because I think you're seeing his influence in real time happening. How well I think he is, obviously he's not the main reason, but I think Ty Norris's influence, what his experience, his expertise, what he brings to everything behind the scenes. I think that's a decent part of why Kaulig has improved a fair bit thus far in 2025. And you can look no further than Trackhouse not looking like itself. Like Trackhouse has really taken a step back so far this year. Maybe Ty Norris is a big part of that, not having his influence and guidance. The way that Kaulig has, I think Kaulig has improved by the same amount that Trackhouse has fallen back. So it's really interesting to see. But it's interesting to see how well Kaulig has been to start the year. They've exceeded my expectations. I think they've exceeded the expectations of a lot of people. I think a lot of people predicted Allmendinger would have a great shot at winning multiple road courses this year, and he very well might. So it would not be unlikely to say Allmendinger would make the playoffs based on winning, but I don't think very many people have him contending for the playoffs on points. He's 16th in points right now, and that is absolutely remarkable. He blew up at Daytona and finished last, and had the problem at Coda late in the race to finish in 30th. So it's entirely possible he doesn't have a blown engine. I mean, remember, he was running in the top five at Circuit of the Americas before he had the problem at the end. So we take those two problems out of the equation, and it's entirely possible he could be in the top 10 right now. That's how well Allmendinger's been running. So Kaulig has shown a big improvement across the board this year, especially compared to last year. So I'm excited to see how the organization continues to grow as the year goes on. Thank you all so much for joining me in this edition of NASCAR Mailbox. Jared Haas will take over next week after this week's festivities at Bristol Motor Speedway. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Jared Haas with Frontstretch.com. Come back soon for more great racing videos. And if you like us, make sure to hit that subscribe button.